What's going on, guys? Hope everyone had a great Christmas and a great start to year 2023. After a brief hiatus, this is the Going Broadway Podcast, and it is Alex and Cole with you. As always, Cole, what's going on?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to 2023, our first show as the Going Broadway Podcast in 2023. I hope and trust that all of you guys had a great Christmas and a great start to the new year. Just want to say hi, everybody, and excited to jump in tonight and play a little catch up even because it's been a minute since we've been on here.
Indeed, it has. And just a blanket good evening to everyone, but we are just going to jump right in. Maybe. There it is. And you guys, as always, feel free to chime in with your own thoughts and opinions, and we'll see what happens. So, what do you want to kick off with? I know we kind of threw around some ideas to chat about as far as our off the top. I'll let you pick where we start.
Well, I hadn't had a chance to get in our Discord and talk too much about this, but as most of you know, I am a huge John Cena fan, and we got to see John Cena on SmackDown for the 30th, the last day of wrestling for WWE, whatever.
And his name is John Cena.
And I think it just busted everybody's eardrums. I didn't realize that was going to be so loud.
I wanted to talk about his appearance there and get everyone's thoughts, and let's just get it out in the open. Let's talk about the bald spot. Let's talk about just the whole appearance in general. I have some shockingly mixed thoughts on it all.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm a little torn.
Okay, so I'll be honest and upfront. I actually did not watch any of it. I didn't see any of it. I have been consumed with the holidays. I to be completely frank, I've watched very little wrestling in the last week and a half. I've kept up with it, but I haven't watched much. So I'm going to defer to you. I'm going to defer to everyone watching us that may have caught it. Obviously, I've seen all the photos and the memes and whatnot. And so as it relates to oddly enough that we're even talking about this is even a discussion. People age. It happens. I mean, if you're receding, like if it looks like this, then maybe you shouldn't be growing your hair out. Like, this is the point right now where I probably need a haircut just to keep it to where it's, a little thinner up here and then thicker on the sides and the back. I need to cut it. So if Mr. Cena is having an issue with it, then maybe he just needs to just do a little housekeeping on the cranium region, if you will. And I'm trying to talk and read the comments at the same time. It's not going so well.
So I agree with you. Obviously, people age, and it's a natural part of life. I think for the first time ever, though, I'm about to say the thing that shouldn't shock me. In his 20-year career of wrestling, it was the first time that I looked at him and I said, I think it's time. I think it's time for you to be done. Because at what point and you know me, I want my choreographed wrestling to be believable. All right. I know that's hard to put two and two together, when we talk about pro wrestling, and for the people who say it's fake or, whatever, how dare you, even bring that up on a wrestling podcast. But it was the first time that I saw him, and I was like, ugh. I don't know if you're the believable, overcome all odds John Cena, and I wonder if people ever had that with Hulk Hogan. Like, at what point when Hulk Hogan came out and he was going to wrestle people, did somebody go, "Oh, he's not like the immortal Hulk Hogan anymore." Like, he is old and busted Hulk Hogan. Like, yeah. Well, like, at what point do you look at it? The Ric Flair match. I said it several times. It's hard for me to want to watch a match for a guy that I know can't really do anything. Like, really shouldn't be doing anything. It's hard for me to watch. And it's not a dig at anybody. If you like watching it, cool. But I have a hard time watching, Morton and Gibson still wrestling as a tag team against.
So let me ask you this: was Cena's in-ring display?
Well, so let me get to that.
Okay.
He didn't really have any.
Okay.
Because most of the match, he didn't tag in most of the match. It was KO and Sammy facing off to start, and then Sammy, struggled with KO. He tags Roman in. The Cena chants erupt. Everybody wants him to tag in. Cena's going nuts on the side. And before KO goes over there to tag him in, there's some chit chat between him and Roman. And then Roman hits him. And next thing you know, it's the rest of the match basically is Roman and Sammy beating down on KO. So you're waiting for the hot tag, right? You're waiting for the place to erupt, Cena go nuts, the whole thing. Cena wrestled maybe 3.5 minutes the entire match. He never got into the end. And then at the end, you have him, do his thing on Sammy and on Roman, and they do they do the whole thing. I don't know if you read in our Discord, but they talked about KO messing up the 5-knuckle shuffle. Roman and Sammy were both laying on the mat. There was supposed to be a double 5-knuckle shuffle, and Cena, they did the "you can't see me," but then KO went to go straight down for the fist. Cena went off the rope, so then KO had to recover and like wait for Cena to get there so then he could go down. It looked a little sloppy, obviously. The
irony,
that.
I want to throw this in there. The irony to that is back in the day, during PWG, so Kevin Owens, who would have been Kevin Steen at the time,
Right?
Just a little history lesson. He was on commentary, and it would have, those of you that know Excalibur, he did commentary as well for PWG. But Kevin Owens, again, Kevin Steen at the time, he was ripping on Adam Cole, who tried to mimic The Rock's people's elbow and ripping on him because, he went the wrong way. And just, I found it really ironic / full circle that he messes up John Cena's 5-knuckle shuffle. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. And so then I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure he ends up after that, Roman ends up getting. Did he get? I'm trying to think. He got the attitude adjustment and then rolled out to the side of the ring. Roman basically gets removed from the match. He rolls out to the side of the ring. The match ends. Cena and KO win the match, and that was it. There was no massive in-ring performance from Cena. It was it almost was like they were protecting him from looking rusty. That's really how it felt for me. Was that he really didn't do that much. So to like televise, to make this big ordeal, like for him to go and do that, I think I would have rather him just be a surprise person to show up on a SmackDown on a Friday night. Like to publicize he's going to be there. I know you got to sell. I get the business side of it. It sold tickets. It got people talking, whatever. But it really wasn't as special as I thought it was going to be. And I'm struggling with that. I also agree with people that have seen it. Listen, I don't care if you're a movie star, if you're a professional wrestler, if your hair is doing that, go back to that buzz cut, baby. Preserve your young physical attributes as long as you can, because like literally that's the other thing that sucks about it is that seemed to take away from some of his return was that everyone was just talking about how old he looked, and that's what I wanted to talk about more was like, at what point did that happen to Hulk Hogan? At what point did that happen to some of the greats that we know, that they just kind of age out, and you get to the point where you're like, they're not the person at their peak. They're not who we know them to be. And so that's where I'm like, if you really are going to have Cena ever beat the world record, the title record, if you ever are going to have Cena win the IC title, if you ever are going to have him have a major role in the company one last time, I think the window is 5 years or less. I mean, I really do. I think it's getting to the point where it's not going to be believable, and we're going to be then sitting there frustrated with one of the greats that they've created in decades, and we're going to be staring at them like we do Goldberg, wanting to know why you put a title on Goldberg in 5 minutes, and beating your top star with it. And no, I haven't turned on Cena. Whoa. I'm saying the booking of it all just wasn't very good. Most of that's not even on Cena, other than his hair or lack of hair. The look itself, he did everything right. But then I do want to bring up one more spot in the match before we transition. He was almost screaming the call, if you know what I mean. He's running the match. Him and Roman are probably both calling the match together, I would assume. And when he's on the side, when you can go back and watch it, when he's on the apron and he's waiting for the hot tag, you hear him yelling, I mean screaming, as if he was on the sidelines of the NBA champion, Super Bowl championship, whatever. He's screaming to KO, not yet, slow down now. And then he comes and gets the hot tag, and it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm tripping, but Alex, you would get a kick out of it. Like, go back and watch just that part if you can find a clip of that, because it felt like he was announcing the hot tag almost aloud for everyone to hear.
I'll have to go find that. Now, to your point, you mentioned, when did some of these other guys, when did they age out? When should they have aged out? And maybe aged out's not the right term, but I get what I get your point. And maybe you didn't use the term aged out. Maybe that's just whatever. You guys get what I'm trying to say. So as an example, well, before I get to that, the way I look at it, if someone can still perform in the ring, I don't give a flip what they look like. I mean, we saw Shawn Michaels obviously should have, done the thing to his hair long ago. I mean, he was thinning for quite a while, but he could still go in the ring. Now I'm of course talking when he was still, had his back to back. Yeah, when he was, back-to-back manias with Undertaker, things like that.
Right.
Probably should have done some work with the hair at that point. I mean, he had been thinning for quite some time, but nobody cared.
Right. Because it looked good, because he was still good. It was entertaining.
Yeah.
Right.
You mentioned Hogan. I mean, that there's some debate to that, because you had him reinvent himself for the NWO once he was in WCW, but in terms of in-ring performance, he was kind of, I mean, he had been slowing down before he even left WWF and went to WCW. So, I mean, that's something that's a whole nother topic. You could debate that all day long. I mean,
hot take. This one's debatable too.
Yeah. I mean, Jericho isn't putting on 5-star matches, but I mean,
my point was, compared to who they were at their peak, right? Like, we're talking about, they were the top of the business, and we're not talking about guys who are mid-carders their entire life. And that's not a stab at anybody. I'm just saying in general. I'm talking about your top guys, your Stone Colds, your Shawn Michaels, your Hulk Hogan's, your John Cena's, those guys. At what point is it not believable anymore that they're that guy still?
Right.
We can take him down a notch. When Ric Flair kind of took the back seat with Evolution. He wasn't the face of Evolution. He was more that tag team wrestler, that secondary. Let me help. Like, when does your notch go down a notch? And now you're just the guy that's there to help elevate talent. Now you're just the guy that's there for the quick pop, the show up, beat some people up and go home. That's what I'm struggling with is I think Cena's approaching, not has approached. I think he's approaching. It was the first time I had that thought of like, yeah, we're getting close.
Cena is in the twilight of his career for sure. I would say I think you said you gave him 5 years in terms of, if he's going to like you threw out
major storylines.
Yeah. If he's going to be 17-time world champion, if he's going to win the IC belt or whatever, you said 5 years. I'm putting it at 3.
And that is very fair. It really depends, I guess, on how much they use him too.
Well, no, exactly. That was the point I was getting to. It has nothing. I shouldn't say nothing. Not as much to do with his in-ring ability, but we've always talked about, next guy up, who's going to be at their peak with WWE, and is there going to be a spot for Cena at 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whatever.
For sure.
And it really all depends on how often they would use Cena / how often he would come back. If he went away for, let's say hypothetically for this conversation, and we'll pivot here in just a second, which this will actually be a good segue. Let's say he is at Mania this year. Let's say he is in a match at Mania this year, regardless of who he goes against. But then let's say we don't see or hear from Cena for, I don't know, year and a half. Let's assume he's not winning a championship or anything like that at Mania. Right. And it's just a one-off. Let's say a year and a half goes by and, he kind of resurfaces or whatever. Like what I'm trying to say is, what frequency do we start seeing Cena or hearing from him or whatever in WWE less and less, to the point where, he's just done,
Right.
I would say, and this would be a good way to look at it. I don't know what WrestleMania as an entity has planned in terms of location for the next X amount of years. I would not be at all surprised if he goes into the Hall of Fame if and when Mania goes back to the, New York, New Jersey area, Massachusetts, Northeast, wherever he's originally from.
Right.
So, I mean, I threw out New York and New Jersey because that's where it's most likely. I don't know if you're going to put a Mania in Boston at this point. I don't know the logistics of that. And that's a whole nother story. But point is, and you guys that are watching can, if you want to look it up, feel free. I don't know, but I would say he's the kind of guy that once he's in the Hall of Fame, I wouldn't be surprised if to him, he's done at that point.
For sure. I think it's a Taker situation there, that once he's ready to call it final quits, that's when we'll make you the headliner, if you will.
Yeah. Now, speaking of Mania, again, this would be a good segue. Just while we're on the topic, at this point, there's not been any real clarification, assuming Cena will have a match, who he's going to go against. We've talked about it already as far as potential opponents. Have you, in your opinion, do you feel like it's going to go one way or another based on what you might have seen on TV, anything you've read online, if it's reliable, if it's more of a dirt sheet kind of thing? What's your take on it?
So for me right now, especially based off this last appearance, if Cena's at Mania, it's to sell tickets. There's no. I don't see a storyline currently or developing where Cena fits in the major big picture. So he's gonna be one of those outlier matches, a Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville, type of match, a Braun Strowman versus Omos kind of match, where
Jeez.
it might have a good build to it. I know that's what they were trying to do with Omos. That's why I bring that up. A giant versus a monster, or whatever. Like, there's that. So as far as like everyone's saying him versus Logan Paul, I've said it once, I'll say it again. I don't care to see it personally. I don't think. One, let me put it to you like this: Logan Paul, as talented as he is, he's had 3 matches still, 4 matches now. You can be really talented, you can have all the athletic ability in the world, but you still lack experience.
Mhm.
And to put him in the ring with somebody who is rust, there is rust there. I don't care how veteran Cena is, to put someone who's brand new and isn't doing it full time with someone who's been in the business for 20 years but isn't doing it full time in a match. I think you're asking for botches left and right. I think you're asking
sure.
for sloppiness and at the sake of having a match that on paper people would go for.
And one thing one thing I want to throw out too, and sorry if you might have been getting to this. We don't know the state of Logan Paul's injury at this point. I mean, they might just be keeping it under wraps, whatever. But the point I was going to make is WWE made an investment in Logan Paul. Like, he has a contract. They're not going to rush him to get back, even if it's just for, the one-time pop or whatever. That, in theory, no pun intended, you could do Cena and Logan Paul at next year's WrestleMania if you really wanted to. If they don't want to rush him back, depending on the severity of the injury.
I don't know where Cena's at as far as how he works his contracts with them, his appearances, all that. But Logan Paul versus Cena to me sounds like a Saudi show. It sounds more like something that would sell on one of their overseas pay-per-view that I wouldn't mind watching at that point, because the outcomes don't really matter on those shows. They have proven it. It's an anomaly. Let's just put it that way. They have proven that
basically the equivalent of whenever AEW used to do their ranking systems, but they would throw in a lights out match and it doesn't count towards their
every once in a blue moon they'll change the title. They'll do something shocking, but for the most part, it's a safe pay-per-view.
It's like a tribute. It's like a glorified tribute to the Troops show. Like, there's no storyline implications, or very little, I should say.
It's a televised house show. I mean, it really is. Yeah. And that's fine. I'm good with it. Make your money. But there's other names that have intrigued me more. If Orton's good to go, a Cena versus Orton, bill it as the last time ever.
I'd be all right with that.
That writes itself. They have history with each other. They know each other well enough that even though it's been a minute, you kind of have you can pay homage to some things in that match, and there's some stuff there. Cena versus The Miz kind of writes itself again. I wouldn't mind that, depending on what they're doing with Sami Zayn and Roman, which obviously there were some I'm not gonna lie, there were some teases here on this past Friday Night SmackDown that teased some dissension between him and Roman. They're kind of putting it out there, like, is Roman jealous of the Sami Zayn chance when they're out there, and kind of put in those hints there. But if they're still riding the storyline strong with Sami and the Bloodline by then, Sami versus Cena could be something you see at Mania. Cena could want a shot at Roman, but the opportunities are already taken up by whoever wins the Rumble, or, The Rock, or whoever. So he has to settle for Sami, or, however you want to word, however you want to do it. But I'm just trying to get to the point of, there are more intriguing matchups than the Logan Paul one for me. I don't think that it really does. I would even be more okay with him fighting a young gun like Finn Balor, and I say young gun, but someone he's not really had a chance to really get in the ring with a Finn Balor, I don't know, if they call Braun Breaker up, that could be a good rub for Braun Breaker. Whoever at that point, whoever you want to put in that slot, but that's kind of where I'm at on it.
I get what you're saying in terms of a wrestling fan, it not really appealing. A wrestling fan coupled with you being a Cena fan as well. I see what you're saying, but I also look at it from the other perspective of WrestleMania is kind of WWE's once a year pay-per-view where you're going to have it's their Super Bowl. You're going to have people watching that aren't necessarily sorry guys. I think it Well, I think we got thunderstorms outside, so hopefully my power doesn't go out. But
it's like
it was like a really loud clap of thunder, and it lasted for like a good 10 or 12 seconds, so it kind of caught me off guard. And the fact that I can hear it through my headphones was kind of shocking. Anyway, but WrestleMania is WWE Super Bowl. You're going to have people watching that aren't necessarily wrestling fans, just like people watch the Super Bowl that aren't football fans. Like it's so you're going to have that fan base that, they know Logan Paul because of alternate fame. You're going to have people that know Cena because of his acting career.
For sure.
Alternate
and that's
fame.
why he would be on the card, is to draw those people, right? Because they've been
Yeah.
watching his movies. And
so I wouldn't be surprised if they did that. Do I want to see it? No. I mean, just for reasons like you said, Cena's going to have ring rust. Logan Paul, I mean, he's not been around enough to have ring rust, but the fact that he's been out for a while, I don't see if he is going to be in that slot, I don't see him having another match prior to Mania. And so, it doesn't jump off the paper for me. So I'll give you a few options. And I agree. I think Chris said it earlier. I feel like they've kind of, I don't want to say they've gone away from this because they never really hinted at it that I recall anyway. I don't think they're going to do Cena and Gunther at this point. Now that could change. They could surprise me. I think we're more likely to see Brock and Gunther. I'd much rather see that anyway. I'll throw out some names. We've already seen Cena and Orton. Someone threw out Cena and Edge potentially.
That's a good one.
Just because. I almost guarantee if he's not going to be in the title picture, I almost guarantee we would see Cena and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, and all of them are great. It's going to be for me, it has to be a name, right? It has to be something that sells. It's one of those matches that if, obviously the rumor right now is that they plan to have Roman drop one of the titles before WrestleMania so they can have a championship match headline both nights.
Yep.
And they're rumoring Seth Rollins to be the guy to take one of those belts, and it be Seth Rollins versus Drew or Cody one night, and then Roman versus Rock the other night. If they can't get the Rock, then they want to do Roman versus Cody one night and Seth versus Drew the other. So that tells you who they're kind of sitting on, is that Cody's going to be in the title picture one way or another based off of those rumors. So, another one, Drew McIntyre versus Cena is a possibility. Bobby Lashley versus Cena is a possibility. There's plenty of names. Again, I said Finn Balor. There's plenty of names that I think even someone once said, if Stone Cold's willing to have a match, this is your small little window to do Stone Cold versus John Cena. That's intriguing. Again, I'd be a little nervous about the ring rust of both of them, but my biggest concern just in general for WrestleMania is you want near perfect matches, though. You want it to go off flawlessly. You want it to be entertaining, especially because you have people who don't normally watching. It's supposed to be the event that, hey, this is actually kind of cool. I think I want to see more of this guy. Cena might be the reason you turned it on, but what if you really enjoy Roman Reigns? What if you really enjoy Sami Zayn? What if you really enjoy, somebody else that you're not familiar with? So, you want those matches to be good, and I just don't think Logan Paul versus Cena is good. On paper, to me, I have a lot of concerns about that match versus other people that Cena could fight. And you compare Logan Paul, if he's even good, you compare Logan Paul up with somebody else that's also good, that can help carry in a sense.
For sure. So let's pivot to the situation with AJ Styles, which that could have been a potential name against Cena, depending on severity of injury. I highly doubtful, but again, it's a possibility. But from what I'm seeing, it's an ankle injury. Do you think he'll be back in time for Mania?
I haven't read. I mean, I knew that he was hurt, but I haven't read the severity of the injury. What did he? Do you know what he did?
I think he posted that, broken ankle. It's not going to require surgery, but because it's not going to require surgery, I mean, ankles could be anywhere from a few weeks to a few months.
Yeah, the problem is that even though it's healed, we're talking about jumping in a wrestling ring and the kind of wrestler that AJ Styles is too. We're not just talking about being able to walk on it again in time for Mania. We're talking about him being able to jump off of ropes and the normal AJ, because you don't want AJ Styles at 50% at Mania. If you're going to put him out there, he's got to be at 100. So I would venture to say that if it was broken, you're not going to do any match for AJ Styles that requires any story building, especially Cena of all names,
Right.
Because Cena's not going to be there on a regular to promote the match either. So, Styles would have to be one of those storylines where someone just starts to call him out and he's like, oh, he's not showing up. AJ's the face. I am interested to see what they do with the club moving forward. Obviously they brought in Gallows and Anderson and have still been using Mia Yim as part of the group, even though they're kind of done with Judgment Day. She's still coming out to ringside. She's still, I guess she's part of the club officially, it's a little weird, but
yeah, no, I agree.
So I don't know what you do with them, but maybe you use them to build a match to where it's a 6-man tag against whatever duo is going to be their competitors,
Sure.
If they go heel, if Big E's healed in time, you could see the club versus New Day. That could be something. I don't know. That's just something off the top of my head that would be an interesting matchup.
Can you imagine the pop though, if that's just like completely under the radar, don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden, like, night of Mania, Big E comes out and actually competes.
So the story that came across my mind off the jump was that it ends up just being Gallows and Anderson versus Kofi and Xavier.
Mm-hmm.
They're going at it, whatever. And then you hear, AJ Styles music's hit. I think you'd have to make the club heel at this point. But his music hits, everyone pops. He comes out, he's attacking, the New Day. He's interfering, and then you hear Big E's music hit. He comes out to aid, and then Adam Pearce comes out and says this is now a 6-man tag match. Boom! You didn't need either one of them to build the storyline. You relied on the tag teams to do that, and now you got yourself a 6-man tag match. You got 2 big pops right there at Mania. Again, kind of writes itself, but that's all I could really see at this point. I've had a broken ankle. Now I'm not near the athlete that AJ Styles is, but recovery on a broken ankle is not it's not quick, and it's not something you jump right back into being as active as he would have to be.
Well, when I said a few weeks to a few months, so I mean, this is someone I knew in high school. He played football. I mean, had a broken ankle. Like I even, I saw the x-ray. It was maybe 6 weeks and he was, back playing football. So
now we're talking Was it fully broken? Where was it broken
See,
to? Like,
see, I don't
those
know.
are all factors too. You
Right,
know,
right.
if it's a butterfly break, like there's different recovery times on that too. And we also got to remember AJ Styles is in his 40s. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about someone who's a little bit older, and the body has to be able to recover. So
for sure. Just one more WrestleMania related question, then we'll change topics. Do we see anybody in terms of big new signings actually having a match at Mania as opposed to debuting the night after Mania?
major
So
signings.
Matt
So
Cardona, Nick Aldis.
we're not talking NXT call-ups. We're just
No. I don't know. Insert name. Like I mean, those are the two that popped to my mind immediately.
So you kind of have to know contracts and stuff, obviously too. I think now AEW is enforcing 90-day no compete clauses as well.
I don't know.
I only know that because the whole Regal thing, he had to ask if he could not have to deal with the 90-day compete clause in his contract or whatever. So I don't think it's been pushed as hard, but without knowing off the top of my head who all legitimately, are major, players or whatever, and maybe we'll get a little bit more info in one of these interviews that we have coming up. But, Kylie Ray to me is a big signing in the women's division because of how big she is in the indie scene and how many people, guys, if you haven't seen Kylie Ray at a live show, little kids are drawn to this girl. I think her merch in WWE could be a top seller.
Oh my gosh. For sure.
You're talking, and I know people have said the story writes itself, but her versus Bayley writes itself. She's kind of the reincarnation, if you will, of that give everybody a hug Bayley, that they had. And so the bright colored shirts, the high fiving the fans, hugging them, blowing kisses, the whole thing, like she's going to sell merch like crazy.
So that's what I'm referring to. So they could debut at the Rumble, but actually have a match at Mania. So obviously, if they debuted at the Rumble, it was either a one-off or they're going to sign a contract. So it was sort of
I gotta fix something. Maybe I implied. I'm not saying she's signed. I'm just saying that if we're talking major signings and more than just a one-off in the Rumble, I think that if she is going to debut, Rumble's a good spot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she makes sense to send to NXT at this point. I've been kind of going back and forth on that in my head. But if she had a tryout on a main event, I kind of feel like if they're looking at her, they're looking at her for the now, not for NXT.
Yeah, I would hope.
And so she, as far as like women's division, her name definitely sticks out to me as a huge potential. And I really feel like they need to utilize more of their and hopefully with Triple H in charge, they do more of their talent. We were at last year's Rumble, and I think we counted like 15 veterans, if you will, or what they call legends, because some of them are funny that they call them legends. But and there were very few like current talent in the match.
Yeah.
And so some of them were good. Like I thought Michelle McCool showed that she had plenty left in the tank, but yeah, so I think that she would be a cool one to debut at Rumble, but really you don't see her after that until the night after Mania. She comes out and one of those Paige moments, maybe even where she comes out the night after Mania or whatever it was and pins the champion, is now women's champion. Not saying obviously that's what you have to do, but something big like that. As far as men's, I think you nailed the two that off the top of my head I would be thinking of in terms of things. Nick Aldis, I think is at the top of that list. I actually just saw in a chat room right before we started the show somebody saying that that's such an unrealistic name to suggest for Rumble. I was like, how? Like,
why?
how is that an unrealistic name to suggest for? He's literally exactly what they would want.
That is the most realistic of any free agent that's out there. That's more likely than Cardona, in my opinion.
Because my thing with Cardona, I'm struggling with him and the idea that he's going back to WWE. I know it's different management. I'm just gonna be real. I don't think Cardona works in WWE. If he's wanting to be a top guy, if he wants to be the world champion, the whatever, I'm not even saying he's bad. I'm just saying I don't think that he'll ever get there in WWE. I don't think that they have that build in their heads as he's that guy, as entertaining as it can be. But in his current situation, he can go to any company that he wants to outside of maybe AEW and be the top guy. He can go into Impact and be world champion. He can go into NWA and be world champion. He can go to GCW and be world champion. He could probably go into major MLW,
New Japan.
New Japan.
I mean,
all these indies. You know, he's like the world champion of like 25 indie companies. Like every time I look at his Instagram, he's defending the world title at an indie show. You know, like he's making probably, if not more, the same amount as what WWE is going to pay him to do the top guy job versus the opposite. So you know, whether now if he goes back because he's like, hey, I'm getting close to being done, I'd love to have a coaching, a producer, a career beyond my wrestling days in wrestling, and this is the company to be with, maybe. But I'm not sold on Cardona, and I think what he's doing with media is smart. He's always been good at that, is to troll the mess out of them, just like MJF does, honestly, and just be like, I don't know, you're just gonna have to, you know, I might have talked to the big guy, you know, and just kind of does that. A name I'm gonna throw out real quick, and you know, without spoiling anything. What about, you know, we keep talking about the tag division in WWE. There's a name that's in NXT that isn't doing anything and could use a revive, if you will. What about Bobby Fish making his return to WWE and being tagged up with Roderick Strong and bringing the Undisputed Era back as a tag team within the main roster, because they own the rights to it? The pop's going to be there. The shirts will still sell. I know it's not Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly as well, but those that were for Undisputed Era before it all disbanded are still going to pop. It's still going to be a thing. Just a thought.
I don't know if it would sell. I mean, at least, you know, I mean, people that still have their Undisputed Era shirts and, you know, whatever, they would wear them to shows and things like that. I think you would see a brief revitalization, but I look at it in the same way that, you know, trying to recreate, you know, the Four Horsemen back in the day. You notice they tried to recreate the NWO, things like that. I don't feel like it would have that same following that, you know, let's say you have Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong. Whether you add one or two more guys, or if it's just those two, I don't think it's. I'll take it a step further. I don't think it's the same hypothetically, even if you did have Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly back on board, just because the entire landscape of not just NXT but WWE looks so different. If like Undisputed Era in the black and gold NXT was like, don't want to say a once in a lifetime thing, but it's like something that sparks and catches on like wildfire, but I don't think it's something you can recreate even if you have the original four. And I think it even if you have two of the original guys, whether you add others to it or not, even more so makes it seem less likely, in my opinion, that it would even, you know, have this. It wouldn't feel the same. I don't think anyone can disagree.
No, I'll say I agree with you to an extent, but I would say that they have as good of a chance of getting over as them bringing back Hit Row without Swerve.
Fair point. Fair point.
Which obviously we would all agree it is not the same without Swerve, but they've been able to still make it work. Obviously, they just challenged for the tag titles. You know, they're using them.
And the guy can't do it over the top dive either. I think we
not on live television. He can do it.
He can do it on when the cameras are off, apparently.
but that's my point, is that if you're talking, especially quick pops, getting them in on the main roster, a tag run with them for a couple months, one of them turns on the other, and now you got Bobby Fish versus Roderick Strong as a feud for a bit, and then they go off on their own ways on the main roster even. I'm just saying, as a possibility, Bobby Fish is a name. I don't think he's really signed officially with any company. You know, I know he's kind of doing some stuff with Impact, but I don't know if he's like officially locked in with a company to where he wouldn't be able to make that return. Triple H is the guy. If anyone's bringing back the guys that succeeded in NXT, Bobby Fish is one of those guys. I mean, the only thing you're worried about with him is injuries, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, injuries and age, and I mean, let's put it this way. If I were Triple H, I would sign Bobby Fish in a heartbeat to not only have as an in-ring talent for however long, he would be invaluable to have backstage whenever he feels
especially
like
NXT.
Yeah,
especially when that day comes.
Whenever Bobby Fish feels like he's, you know, hey, I can't do this to the extent that I feel like I should be able to, want to be able to, but I want to stick around. You know, that just, he would be an amazing hand backstage, so to speak. And
for sure,
I don't know. I just wanted to clarify that even though I don't think I think Undisputed Era, when it was at its peak in NXT, black and gold version of NXT, it was, I mean, I would put it up there with the popularity and ability to capture viewers. I'd put it up there with Evolution.
I was thinking Bullet Club. I definitely was on the mindset of like, and I agree with you. I don't think, one, I wouldn't add any members. You know, it would literally be using the name and the music for the pop and having those two come out together to do whatever. If you're the only people that can join the Undisputed Era are the original members. So unless they were to, you know, luck back into a healthy Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly at some point, you never recreate it. You just utilize who you do have. And I don't think you'll ever reach where it was, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't use it at all if there's still money to be made there in any sense of the word.
Agreed. All right, we're going to transition now to a segment we haven't done in a while, but we're going to bring it back.
What a miscarriage of justice!
Good old Gorilla Monsoon on the call there. So, now, time pending, Cole and I are only going to give like one or two a piece.
I got one.
And okay, that's perfect. So I'll go first. So I've got two, so I'll go first. You can do yours and I'll do my second. I think it's a miscarriage of justice at this point that, assuming it hasn't happened, I think it's a miscarriage of justice that Kylie doesn't have a WWE contract.
For sure.
I mean, it seemed like that the tryout went super well. From what I read, Dana Brooke raved about her.
Yep.
Loved the match. So I don't know. Maybe she will be a surprise in the Rumble.
Maybe we might just be able to pull something out of her. You know, we're not a dirt podcast, but maybe she might. She might. You know, here on the Going Broadway podcast, we've been known to have guests on that the next day they show up on AEW or
if
WWE
you guys have stuck with us long enough, you remember whenever we had Jay Lethal on, and he was literally on the pay-per-view 2 days later.
Brian Cage, we talked to him and asked about his frustrations, and like a week later, he showed up on ROH. I think
I think it was more than a week later. It might have been a couple weeks, 3
we
weeks,
had just
something
talked
like
to
that.
him. Guys, we didn't even get Athena on the show, but literally we had just talked to her at a show about getting her on, and the next night she was on AEW, which is what's complicated us getting her back on in the first place, because she was very adamant that she wanted to do it and all that. So
when we talked to her in person, I firmly believe her. I think it's just a situation I think it's just a situation that I don't know. I think AEW is being difficult, if I'm being completely honest. And
we believe, he didn't tell us that, but he did take a call that he said he could not miss and was gone for about a minute and a half and then came back. So
it could have been that very call.
Miscarriage of Justice. So you're talking, I agree. I think Kylie, I wouldn't be shocked if she doesn't have a deal already signed. It does not make sense to debut her yet. There's just no reason to have her come out. I actually questioned how they did that, like the Emma
probably
are the catalyst. I was actually shocked how they did like the Emma return, which again, I would have just argued if she would be willing to let them use the Tenelli Dashwood name. It's a better name.
Yeah, I think it's stupid.
Better gimmick.
I think it's stupid they did the Emma name.
But it was very watered down. They could have made it special, but it felt kind of watered down. It didn't feel special. And obviously even the Charlotte Flair return this past Friday night.
Which we didn't even talk about.
Love it. In short, love it. Happy about it. Ronda Rousey should not be on a mic or in a ring. Just as of right now, she's too green.
Okay, so I'm going to throw another one at you. It is a miscarriage of justice that Ronda Rousey is not better than what she is at this point in the ring or on the mic. Like, she's been not factoring in the time she had off. Like, whenever she's actually been with WWE, like actually having matches, having TV time, on the road doing, I don't know if she does house shows or not, whatever. You guys get what I'm saying. I cannot believe she's not better than what she is. I mean, she botched SummerSlam, she called Royal Rumble SummerSlam at first, and then tried to say, I don't know if she tried to say summer or sooner, but it came out as Sumer. Like,
so you're referencing her promo
pre-match,
pre-match to Charlotte.
Yeah.
The biggest problem for me on the whole thing was her rushing the whole thing. Her, she goes, "Oh, hi Charlotte, you here to challenge me?" And it was like, you're not even catering to the crowd at all. Like you rushed it. And so I actually have a theory that something happened and they needed to get the belt off of her. Because why pair her up with Shayna? Why do this breaking noses and all this stuff storyline to have Ronda drop it on a SmackDown to Charlotte? Like, something seems like Ronda either was going to need some time off. Maybe there's an injury that hasn't been said that she acquired. I don't know. But regardless, absolutely loved it. But again, agreeing with you, Ronda's been, her peak to me was the WrestleMania with Charlotte and Becky. She actually, to me, looked better and performed better when she was the greenest she ever was in the ring. I remember when she first kind of debuted with WWE, I was like, oh, wow, like, she looks good. Like, she looks like she has potential. She's believable. She has that, women's Brock Lesnar kind of feel to her. She's just dominant, kind of whatever. But I was hoping putting Shayna with her would get her off the mic and fix that. And it just hasn't. And so her mic skills are terrible. But even her match with Shotzi, there was several botches.
And it wasn't even a long match.
That were Ronda's botch. It was on her. what was the other, her matches with Liv were all terrible. I think the Extreme Rules one, you could give it a pass just because they did use a lot of weapons, like, but there was it's been botch century, botch city, sorry, with Ronda nonstop since I feel like she's won the title, since she's been on this most recent run. And yeah, I'm glad. I don't care what none of y'all say. Charlotte Flair is the best women's wrestler in the world. There ain't nobody even close. And I don't care if she's won it 14 times. She deserves it.
And I said on our chat thread, I don't mind the, bringing her back. I don't even mind her winning the title, but I would have, if I would have done one thing differently, even if they needed an immediate title change, I would have, worst case scenario, I think that's the right way to phrase it. Worst case scenario, have it be later in the show. So at least you can give people time on social media to say, hey, Charlotte's back. You got to tune in to SmackDown, at least get the viewers
right
there. I would have maybe built it and said, again, not knowing the urgency with how quickly they needed to get the belt off Ronda, move it to, even if it's the following week SmackDown. I mean, it seems like that it was done so quickly, Royal Rumble probably wouldn't have happened, too far away. So I agree with you. I think there's something that happened, or whatever the case may be, that they needed to get it off her and get it off her quick. Whether, even if they're just moving her over to Raw, I don't know. I feel like there could have been better ways to go about the whole situation if you needed to move her to Raw for whatever reason before the Rumble. Either way,
I mean, the match wasn't even good. Like, when I say good, it wasn't a long match. It wasn't like this knockout banger of a match between her and Charlotte. Like, it was one of those quick roll up, kind of situations. So
anyway, you said you had one.
I'll give you one. And it's actually interesting because I didn't even know I hadn't looked at our show. Long story short, guys, I've had a long week. Alex knows the situation. It's a little personal. But I'm fighting through it. So I didn't even look at our lineup for the show. I just kind of was like, I'm pretty keen on just going off the cuff. So I saw this
we improv here.
I saw this and it brought me, it literally, the first thought that came to my mind is something I actually posted in our Discord over our little Christmas break, if you will. I was in my Airbnb, and the Airbnb had a Roku TV, and Roku has the Impact TV channel. And so I literally spent most of my time just watching Impact TV. And they never show like the current stuff almost ever. It's always like just reruns of the past. But it literally brought me back to my childhood almost.
Final Resolution 2004.
So, like, for those of you who don't know, I literally, on the December 21st, I turned 29. And so my kid wrestling days were
time out. Say it again. Back up a little bit.
Oh, my birthday? My birthday was December 29th, or the 21st. I just turned 29. Wow. And so, like, I was watching Impact, NWA TNA almost, like, when that was still going on. So, like, I was watching it when it was good. Like, and I don't want to say it's not good now, but when it got to its peak, when the way that people talk about AEW now, people were talking about Impact TNA.
I'll give you one better. The way people were talking about NXT Black and Gold, that was Impact / TNA back in the day.
It had so much potential. And so my Miscarriage of Justice is, it didn't ever actually culminate to anything, though. Like, it is so frustrating to look back and to see all of the banger of matches that are there. Like, they have a vault of matches that are just bangers. And I know they were around a lot longer. They had a little bit more time, but AEW don't even come close to the matches that Impact has in the vault. You want to talk about banger of matches? They don't have anything on it. I mean, like, I was watching some of these matches and I was just like, wow, like, I almost feel like we took it for granted at the time. compared to what we have now. Like, so it's kind of one of those. Also, I think a couple weeks ago we were gonna do like a what if, thing. Mine's kind of a duel on that. Like, what would have happened if no Dixie Carter, no Hulk Hogan, Eric Bischoff stuff? Like, what if it just got to continue to organically go? Yeah, Joe, AJ, and Daniels, Kurt and Joe, Angle and Joe, Beer, and then you look at some of the tag teams: Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, Main Event Mafia. I know some people are hot and cold on the aces and eights, but there was so much there. You had all these stars going there. When the Hardys went there, or when Jeff specifically.
I'm going back even further than that. I mean, you had, well, I guess he was there with the era that you're referencing, but I'm thinking like P.D. Williams, Team Canada.
Yeah.
Here's a what if. What if P.D. Williams never did the Canadian Destroyer?
Right.
I mean, everyone does it now, but at the time it was just like, what just happened?
Well, and I posted something to our social medias of the Mount Rushmore of Impact, and we got a lot of feedback on it.
I could not believe the response we got for that.
And the names that people threw for their Mount Rushmore, it got me thinking. I was like, man, you're not wrong though. Like, they had a lot of, and for those that may not have seen it, it was, what was it? Christian Cage, Sting, Kurt Angle, and AJ.
I'll pull it up real quick.
No, it wasn't Angle. It was because I kept saying Angle and Jarrett should be on there. It was Kurt Angle. It was AJ Styles, Sting, Christian Cage, and maybe Samoa Joe.
Okay, so for context, real quick, it was Rich Swann's
Mount Rushmore
of TNA / Impact. So he said AJ, Samoa Joe, Sting, and Christian Cage.
And so it sparked my interest. It was a conversation I wanted to have, and this is before I even got to watch Impact TV, that I saw this picture. But I was like, how could you not have Angle and Jarrett on this lit? Like, it just, that baffled me.
Yeah.
I loved Christian Cage's time there. I don't think it eclipses anything Jarrett or Kurt brought to the table. I even kind of could go back and forth on Sting. Like, he had a great career there, but there's some other names that you could argue. And so people started throwing names. I mean, you had Abyss that was there.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal stuff with Abyss. You had Christopher Daniels, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. Someone said Elix Skipper, and I asked why, and they gave me a great answer. They're like, the walk in the cage. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, you know what? You're not really wrong. Like, I think someone said Ron Killings on the post. I was like,
yeah,
our truth was a big deal. And you keep going down the list, and you're like, no wonder why the Dudley Boys went there and had title runs there. No wonder why Booker T went there. No wonder why Kurt Angle went there. No one, like, you start looking at the names that we're starting to draw there too. Rob Van Dam, all these names start showing up, and I'm like, what could have been the miscarriage of justice of ruining a great thing by trying to make it greater with people that didn't really know what they were doing.
Indeed. I'm going to save mine because it'll be, well, okay. I won't elaborate on it too much. This will be kind of I'll tell you what, I'm going to tease this. This will be a hot take for our next non-interview podcast. And I'll make a note that we'll talk about this. I think it's a miscarriage of justice that we continue to have as many house shows as we do going into WrestleMania season.
Good point.
Because if we didn't have so many, I wonder if AJ would have gotten injured. Just throwing that out there. But that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to elaborate on it other than that. And we'll talk about that more in a couple weeks whenever we have a normal podcast, if you will. But for now,
promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Gotta love it, Lord Alfred Hayes. Hey guys, just to remind you about a few things. You can check us out normally live on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We are live on our Facebook page, our Twitter page as well. We're live on our YouTube and Twitch channels. So check us out on any of those 4 platforms. Scrolling across the bottom of your screen right now is our Patreon link. As we've said many times, and we have been this since September, we are completely crowdfunded. We are not company backed in any way. So any and all financial contribution, we sincerely appreciate. But we do have frequent raffles and contests and such that you can participate in and be another way to financially support us. And we sincerely appreciate it. We just did a couple of WWE 2K22 Royal Rumble raffles that filled very quickly, and we sincerely appreciate that. Cole will keep you guys posted when those will air. Those will be exclusive to our Twitch channel. As our once we get back into the habit of doing them, we will do watch parties again. Those will be exclusive to our Twitch channel. So you can hop over to Twitch, subscribe. You can eliminate those ads as low as $4.99 per month to eliminate those ads. So again, another way to financially support us if you'd choose to do so. And again, we can't say enough how much we'd appreciate it. You can hop over to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/Going Broadway Podcast. I need to get on putting some more of my idea SKUs up to freshen up that website, so to speak. I haven't put a new one on there for a minute. So why won't this go? There we go. You lean forward. You look like you're getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject real quick on the gaming side of things. So guys, I will get you a date as soon as possible. I am looking at this Saturday for both Rumbles that we've had fill up. Again, thank you guys so much for that. Without going into details, I just have a family member that's going to be having surgery, and I don't have a date and a time on that yet, but it's supposed to be sometime this week. And so I am waiting to get that information before I commit to streaming. So, but I'm looking at this Saturday for both of them. And I also wanted to mention that you will be happy to know that not only do we now have all of the unlockable characters available for your selection for future events that we do, but I have downloaded I think it's close to about 80 DLC or downloadable characters back, got their overalls fixed. So your favorites from the past AEW, Impact, some GCW guys, New Japan, all of women as well from those companies. We have them all. And so these first two Rumbles, the first two Rumbles that we did for this month of January, we're just selecting the spot. And so you will be surprised, as I will, to see who gets to come out and who's going to be in it. This is an unfortunate thing. I was trying so hard to find a Kylie Ray. I have scanned 350 pages. Guys, I put in a 40-hour work week when it's all said and done. All these characters purchased and downloaded and all this different stuff. So there's two names I couldn't find. I will just go ahead and tell you the two names I couldn't find because it'll let you know how many I did, because you're going to be like, oh, wow. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate that. Where is my roster here? So Kylie was one of the names I could not find. And Takashi was one of the, I found him, but his stuff is damaged on the game and it won't let you download him. So those are the two that I couldn't find. So I have found a ton of them though, and they are downloaded. And so for our Going Broadway podcast pay-per-views that will start up in February, you'll be able to have all of those people at your selection. I'm working with, I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but I'll be working with Alex to actually get this roster posted and pinned on one of our chat rooms, or maybe creating a new chat room in our Discord, so you can always see who is available for your selections. And you don't have to text and ask Alex a bajillion times if we have this person or that person. You can just go look and have that to your availability. So those are all options. We will be posting two more Rumbles here in January, another women's and another men's. where you won't select your spot. You will just select your wrestlers, and it'll be randomized. So we'll have 30 slots available for each. You can pick whatever woman you want that is available. You can pick whatever man you want that's available. We just don't allow duplicates.
And that includes the downloadable characters you just referenced.
That's why we'll get them posted so you can see them. And they'll have their overalls attached, so you'll get to know how good they are on the game, and so on and so forth. So
guys, that means, like, if you want, just throwing out a name, if you want Will Ospreay,
he's there.
And
I won't tell you his overall, but I tried my best, y'all, to go off of what I was seeing people do online and make them as fair as possible. So there are a ton of them, though. So you'll get to see those, select who you want, as well as all the unlockable characters. If you ever have a question on the roster now, just go look up WWE 2K22's roster, including unlockables. The only ones we don't have are the NWO versions of, like, Scott Hall, X-Pac, all them, because I didn't buy the NWO version. So outside of that, they're all available and there. So we'll be posting those two now that these ones have filled up. We'll be posting those two shortly for our patron members, and then opening it up to the public on that as well. So just wanted to throw that out there. We have all these wrestlers for you now. Everyone's available. It's all free games. So when we do these Rumbles, don't be shocked to see some of the names that might come out. That's all I'm saying.
And guys, the next two Rumbles will just be same price per spot for everybody, because you don't know what spot you're coming out to. You're just picking your character, your wrestler, whatever. So you can come out first, you can come out number 30, or anywhere in between.
You're just going to want to buy as quickly as you can, because you may not be guaranteed the person you want. So
indeed. Just a few quick announcements about our upcoming guests. So our first one will actually be this upcoming Sunday, January 8th, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. We have, you know her as Medusa, you know her as Lundra Blaze. She'll be joining us. I did reach out and confirm that date and time she will be here. I'm super excited about it. From what I was told, she's really excited about doing the interview as well. We're going to talk with her about her career, help promote her book. And that'll be a very fun conversation. Then the following Thursday, now take note of this, guys. I'm going to get rid of this banner too, so you can see this. So Tyrus is still scheduled to join us the following Thursday, January 12th, but slight change in time, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central. I will keep you guys posted if for some reason that changes, because the lady I've been talking with as it relates to Tyrus's schedule, bookings, etc., she said that at times Fox can just basically say, hey, we need you to tape, record, go live, whatever. And that's just not something they can control. And which, I told her I completely understand. We're kind of the little guys when compared to Fox. So, but she is adamant that we're going to try to make this work. I told her we would do the same, try to be as flexible as we can. So as of right now, Tyrus joining us Thursday, January 12th, 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, current NWA World Heavyweight Champion and co-star / co-host, I guess you want to call him that, of the Gutfeld show on Fox News, will be joining us. Then, if I can get this pulled up, there we go. That's right. The Smile Gang returns. And I'm going to get rid of this banner too, just a second, so you guys can come on now. There we go. Kylie is joining us. We got her Sunday, January 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. This will be the fourth time that she's on with us. That's just crazy to me.
I'm pumped. I'm so excited.
I am too. And guys, just to kind of give you a peek behind the fourth wall, so to speak, anytime we have guests on, we kind of like prepare questions ahead of time, and Cole and I go back and forth, so it's not like it's kind of, awkward. I mean, there's some, one of us will pipe in every so often, but it is very structured, I guess I'll call it. I'm going to leave our conversation with Kylie like completely, like we're just going to go off the cuff and just chat, as if we're old friends, because that's literally what happened the last time we talked with her. Like I didn't even have to, either I made a layout and we didn't stick with it at all, or I just didn't make one. I don't recall, but with Kylie, we're not even going to make an itinerary, so to speak. We're just going to hang out and chat.
It's not, I don't want to sound braggadocious, but she is a guest that we truly do have a friendship with, that there's a relationship there beyond just, hey, we want you on the show. So it's a lot more fun to have her on because we really can just shoot the breeze and not have to be all technical and professional and all of those things. Yeah. So we're super excited for that.
So this is a brand new announcement, not yet revealed. I've not mentioned it to anybody. I've not posted it anywhere, but we have another, actually we have multiple confirmed guests. I'll get there in a second, but another confirmed guest that I'm officially announcing for February. We have former Killer B Brian Blair, joining us on Sunday, February 12th, but this will be a special time. We're going to be doing 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. It's February 12th. That is a Sunday, right? Pretty sure.
I believe so. We've been trying to keep them as best as possible. Let me double check here.
Yeah, it's a Sunday. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Sunday still.
But in talking with him, he said he didn't want to do anything super late. So I said, no problem. We'll make it work. Let's do 6 p.m. your time because he's in Florida. It'll be 5 p.m. our time. So that's the plan. I'm super excited about that conversation too, because I'm a big fan of championship wrestling from Florida, where he started. And there's going to be some fun conversation there. And I'm looking forward to that conversation. Some of you guys might not be familiar with him. If you're an old school fan like I am, you're definitely familiar with him. And I'm super excited about that. We have more guests that have confirmed that either we just don't have a graphic ready for yet, so we're not going to announce it, or we're still finalizing a date. But I will say this, one that we don't have a graphic yet ready for, but it has confirmed, is going to be 2 weeks after that interview with B. Brian Blair. So that'd be the 26th of February. And as of right now, it's scheduled 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Central. So our normal time, but I'm not going to officially announce the guest yet. You'll just have to.
Do I have that date?
You'll just have to stay tuned and wait, are you asking me if you have it?
Yeah,
you do. We just haven't done a graphic yet.
I thought I would have made I thought I made all my graphics. Maybe I skipped over it.
You didn't skip over. I didn't ask you to do one yet.
Oh, see, this is, guys. See, I don't even get all the updates here on the Going Broadway podcast.
No. I told you.
We play it close to the chest here, okay? That's how we do it.
I told you whenever I was talking with who I'm referring to that, they're in.
Okay, now I remember.
But we didn't do a graphic yet. So
I am recalling now.
So yeah, I mean, I'm super pumped about, the next 3, possibly 4 months of our podcast, we're going to be having a lot of guests. And if I told you the names, you would be mind blown. So, I'm super stoked. Like, I can't even begin to, come on. I'm not going to do anything without a graphic. Can't do it.
But hey, you know what? Maybe if you're a patron member, you might.
You know what? I like it. I like where you're going with this. Go for it.
We once I'll get the graphic made here tonight, and if you're a patron member, we might throw a spoiler out there. You won't be allowed to say nothing if you say something on tisk tisk. But
if you say something, we can't do anything about it. But we'd appreciate it if you did.
We'll scorn you on.
No, I'll tell you what. Cole will make the graphic. He'll send it over to me. I'll post it on our Patreon as soon as he gets it done. So that might be tomorrow before he can get to it. But if you're on our Patreon, you will find out by tomorrow who that guest is on the 26th of February.
That's right. Keep it zipped. Keep it zipped.
So, guys, we were going to do some predictions about Wrestle Kingdom. We're kind of running short on time. So I just want to highlight a few matches. We wouldn't have predicted the entire card anyway, just because, I mean, neither of us watch New Japan enough to really give a full, accurate prediction in terms of, we're predicting so-and-so to win and why. We don't watch it enough to be able to do that. So we're just going to highlight a couple matches that we may have a little more interest in, just because. Now I'm just looking at night 1. So night 2, I don't even know how much of that, if any, has been announced yet. But the odd thing about this year's Wrestle Kingdom is that night 1 is this Wednesday, which that itself is kind of weird that they're having it on a Wednesday. But then night 2 isn't until 2 weeks later on the 21st.
Yeah, that's weird.
So, no, we haven't done that yet. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I honestly totally forgot about it, and I was going to do it on tonight's podcast. So I apologize. I will keep you
great though. We're going to keep it for Alundra Blaze's interview. So you're going to need to tune in next Sunday for Alundra Blaze, and we will do it at the end of the show.
Or we'll do it at the end of Tyler. So we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Tune in. Okay. That's what we're getting at.
But I appreciate you reminding me, because I was going to do it tonight and I just completely slipped my mind. So as far as Wrestle Kingdom, again, we'll just look at a few matches and then we'll probably call it a night here in a few minutes. Let's look at, so we got FTR defending the IWGP Tag Team Championship. They've dropped the Ring of Honor Tag Championship. They did drop the AAA Tag Team Championship. However, side story to that, Dragon Lee, who is one half of the new AAA Tag Team Champions, just got signed to WWE and is going to NXT. So that's kind of an interesting scenario. Do we think FTR loses here to
yes.
Hiroki Goto and Yoshihashi?
Doesn't matter the names, they will drop, because that's not even a name we mentioned earlier when we were talking about WrestleMania after WrestleMania debuts.
Mm-hmm.
FTR could definitely be on that list, just at the rate that they're going.
I'd be all for it.
Because didn't we say their contract's up in February?
I don't remember for sure. I thought I read March, but still,
And if they have a 90-day compete clause, it'd be a little bit too far out for Mania debut, but or after Mania debut. But regardless, yeah, I think they drop. I think they're on their way back to WWE.
I think they drop here, and I hope they're on their way back to WWE. But I don't know. Dax has been, I don't know how many of you guys have listened to his new podcast, but Dax has been very defensive when it comes to all things AEW. So I don't know. We'll see. Carl Anderson defending the Never Openweight Championship against Tama Tonga.
Again, I'm going to say drop.
One, I do too.
Tama's a good name to put it on. And 2, I don't know how long even if you like the working relationship with WWE, I don't know how long you could go with him working for 2 major companies and thinking that it's going to work schedule wise.
Agreed. So I only mentioned this because this is going to be his last New Japan match. I know he's on his retirement tour. So Keiji Muto, also known as Great Muta, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Shota Umino, who has been on AEW before, against Tetsuya Naito, Sanada, and Bushi. Do you think it's Muta's team or the other team?
A lot of names in that match. I would be shocked on a big pay-per-view like that if he's on his retirement tour that they don't just give it to Muta. That's just my thoughts. But honestly, there's nothing on the line. So
yeah,
as long as it's a good match, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, my thought is, though, now I get that it's a singles match, but Muta put over Nakamura on their Pro Wrestling Noah match. So just because of the names involved, I'm going to say that Naito, Sanada, and Bushi win, because Muta's on his way out the door. Tanahashi is kind of like New Japan's version of John Cena. Actually even older. So it just seems like the other team's younger and they'd want to put them over, I guess. That's kind of my logic, I suppose.
For sure.
IWGP United States title match. Will Ospreay defending against Kenny Omega.
The words "who care" almost came out of my mouth.
How dare you? How dare you?
I know the names involved, but I really, this is like,
well, let me clarify. From a storyline implication, I don't really care, but I think I think and hope the match will be incredible.
I'm gonna say that Kenny loses because I just don't think it makes any sense.
I agree.
To put belts on people that don't have the time to work for your company.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm gonna say Will Ospreay retains.
I agree. Quite frankly, no offense, I don't really care about the IWGP World Heavyweight title match, so I'm not even going to mention it. I mean, Okada's in the match again. Don't care if he wins. Don't care if Jay White loses or vice versa, whatever. Last thing I will bring up. How does Sasha Banks / Mercedes Vernado, whatever her name is going to be, how does she appear on the card?
Well,
any thoughts to that?
They're correct me if I'm wrong. They have a new women's division, right? Like it's fairly new.
Kairi Sane's their champion.
Here's the thing, that match would be really good.
It would
Kairi
be.
Sane versus Sasha, but I don't think you could just off a whim do it. I think you would want to bill it. You would want to get the money's worth for it. I think night one they could introduce her and have her and Kairi face off, and then 2 weeks from now have Kairi versus Mercedes. That's the only thing, though. Honestly, other than that, because unless you're having another big name show up, Sasha Banks, or whatever you want to call her, she's in a league of her own. I mean, there's not many women who can touch her as far as mic skills and in-ring ability. I could argue maybe 3 people. So it's Kairi's good. I still think Sasha's better, but Kairi's good. It would be a good match, but I don't know, unless you're bringing in another big name, I don't know if you have a match that's marquee enough for a pay-per-view card.
Yeah, I agree. I think she'll appear in person. I know Chris said via satellite. I mean, she's in Japan, so it kind of seems silly to do via satellite, via video.
She'll
whatever.
be there. If they've already leaked it, she'll be there.
Yeah, I think she'll be there. I've read that brain lapse. What's Uso's wife's name?
Oh, Naomi.
Well, what's her kind of thing? What does she go? Trinity. Is that what? Yeah. I heard that she's there too. I think she'll be there with her in some form or fashion or whatever. But as far as how they use her, what happens storylines, I mean, at this point, no clue. I mean, you could throw her in the women's title picture, build that division, and you're kind of off to the races. So
for sure.
But guys, that's going to just about do it for us for tonight. Cole, any final thoughts?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. Again, happy 2023 to all of you guys. Remember to write that 23 down on your dates. Get rid of that too. But thank you guys so much for joining us, for supporting us. For what is this? Are we on year 4?
We started this is the beginning of year 4 for us. We started this in 2019.
Man, so we're guys.
No, I'm sorry. We started in 2020. So we did 2020, 2021, 22. Yeah, this is beginning of year 4 for us.
So guys, thank you so much for just the support all of these years through all the changes and transitions and different things. You guys are absolutely amazing. We have an absolute blast. So thank you guys so much. Love you guys. And again, I will make a official announcement on all of our socials and in our Discord for our 2 Rumbles that we do have filled up as soon as I can. Bear with me. I will do my best to get that done for you guys. And keep your eyes peeled for, again, become a patron member so you can get early access to the other 2 Rumbles, so you can pick the people you want as soon as possible. So we'll have that. So make sure you go become a patron for that. And because we'll drop our mystery guest at the end of this month. As soon as
February
I get this graphic
26th.
done. So join us for that as well. So that's all I really have. I love you guys. I'm excited to see what 23 has for us. And I just know that for the GBP specifically, all the way up into March already, we have a pretty much jam-packed schedule that we can't wait to share with you guys. And it's going to be a great year. I just can feel it. So well wishes to you guys as well for the start of your year. But what's 2023 without starting it off?
Are you just going to just sign off like that?
should we retire it? You know, should we? I mean, it's a new year. Are we done with the crow call? Or,
if you're going to retire, you got to do something different.
You know, I don't know, y'all. Do you need a 2023 crow call?
Tell you what, I'm going to retire my $1 million laugh, and I'll sign off after you. But I'm gonna do my best attempt at a woo moving forward.
Oh, okay. I'll give you the crow call tonight, but that might be a discussion point in our Discord that we might need to talk about. It just might be time to retire the crow call, but we'll see. We'll talk about it. But until then, guys, have a great evening. I leave you with your favorite thing in the entire world.
Woo! We'll see you guys on Sunday.